Hi, I'm Maya Chen, a 38-year-old data scientist at Nimbus Analytics, a tech startup nestled in the heart of Seattle, Washington. For the past 2 years, I've been the architect of a cloud-based AI analytics platform that's poised to redefine how businesses harness data. It's been a labor of love, countless late nights, endless lines of code, and a relentless pursuit of precision. But last month, in a sleek conference room overlooking Puget Sound, I found myself correcting a slide that claimed our system was flawless, and that single moment turned my world upside down. Let me take you back to the beginning of this journey, to the spark that ignited a battle for my work, my reputation, and my place in the tech world. Nimbus Analytics is a rising star in Seattle's vibrant tech scene, a city buzzing with innovation, from Amazon's towering spheres to scrappy startups in Fremont. We specialize in AI-driven insights for e-commerce, helping companies predict customer behavior with unprecedented accuracy. As the lead data scientist, I've spent 2 years crafting a platform that delivers 97% accuracy with minimal computational overhead. Think 1.5 GB of memory per 1,000 data points and 3 milliseconds per query on standard cloud servers. It's not perfect, but it's damn good, and it's scalable, efficient, and ready to compete with the big players. This platform is my creation, born from my expertise in machine learning and my obsession with getting the details right. The stakes were sky high that rainy Tuesday morning when we pitched to Cascade Ventures, a venture capital firm known for fueling cutting-edge tech. A $10 million investment was on the table, enough to scale our platform and put Nimbus on the map. Across from me sat Dr. Elena Ruiz, Cascade's lead investor, a 55-year-old former fintech founder with a razor-sharp mind. Flanking her were Mark Patel, the finance guy with a knack for numbers, and Sarah Nguyen, the operations expert who asked the kind of questions that keep engineers up at night. My boss, Ethan Caldwell, the CEO of Nimbus, stood at the front, his tailored suit and confident grin projecting the image of a visionary leader. But as he clicked through his PowerPoint, I felt a knot form in my stomach. Ethan's presentation was a masterclass in hype. "Our platform is a game changer," he declared, his voice echoing off the glass walls. "Unparalleled accuracy, zero latency, and unlimited scalability." The slide on the screen claimed 99.9% accuracy and sub-millisecond processing times, numbers that were pure fiction. I'd spent months fine-tuning this system, balancing speed and precision, documenting every limitation to ensure we could deliver on our promises. Ethan's claims weren't just optimistic, they were impossible. My platform was robust, but it had trade-offs: memory constraints, latency spikes under heavy loads, and accuracy that dipped to 95% with noisy data. These weren't flaws. They were realities of a system designed for real-world use. I shifted in my seat, my fingers tapping nervously on my laptop. Ethan clicked to another slide, this one showing a graph I'd never seen, with performance metrics that defied physics. Dr. Ruiz's eyes narrowed, and Mark Patel scribbled furiously. Sarah Nguyen leaned forward, her expression skeptical. I couldn't let this slide, literally. "Actually," I said, my voice quieter than I meant, "our system achieves 97% accuracy, with processing times around 3 milliseconds on standard cloud hardware." The room went still. Ethan's head snapped toward me, his smile frozen but his eyes blazing. Dr. Ruiz tilted her head, intrigued. "Can you elaborate, Maya?" she asked. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of Ethan's glare. "The platform's designed for efficiency," I explained. "It uses about 1.5 GB of memory per 1,000 data points, with scalability up to 10,000 queries per second before latency climbs to 5 milliseconds. Accuracy ranges from 95% to 97%, depending on data complexity." Mark and Sarah exchanged glances, their pens moving faster. Dr. Ruiz nodded, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Ethan jumped in, his voice tight. What Maya means is our system is revolutionary, a true industry leader. He clicked to the next slide, trying to regain control, but the damage was done. I'd corrected him in front of the investors, and I knew there'd be hell to pay. Let me back up a bit. I joined Nimbus 5 years ago, fresh off a master's in data science from the University of Washington. I was 33, hungry to prove myself after pivoting from a dead-end job in finance. Nimbus was a small startup then, just 20 employees in a cramped Belltown office. I started as a junior data scientist, but my knack for streamlining algorithms and building client trust got me noticed. Within 2 years, I was lead data scientist, working closely with clients like local e-commerce brands and even a few national players. Ethan was different back then. Collaborative, open to my ideas, quick to praise my contributions. He called my platform the future of Nimbus when I first proposed it. But over the past year, as the company grew, so did his ego. He started taking credit for my work, calling it his strategic vision in board meetings. I didn't mind at first. I was focused on the code, not the spotlight. But now, watching him butcher my platform's reality in front of investors, I felt like I was watching someone repaint my masterpiece with cheap paint. Seattle's tech culture is all about innovation, but it's also cutthroat. I'd seen colleagues at other startups sidelined for less than what I'd just done. My sister Lily, a sophomore at UW, depended on my income for her tuition. My parents, retired in Tacoma, were proud of my rise but worried about the risks I took. As Ethan wrapped up the meeting, shaking hands with the investors, his smile was all teeth. Dr. Ruiz held my gaze a moment longer, her expression unreadable but curious. Mark and Sarah thanked me for the clarity. Ethan didn't look at me as we left the room, his silence louder than any reprimand. I returned to my desk, my heart pounding, knowing I'd crossed a line. I'd built this platform from the ground up, every algorithm a piece of me. But speaking the truth had just put my career, and maybe my future, at risk. What came next would test everything I'd worked for. I'm Maya Chen, and I'm still reeling from the moment I corrected my CEO, Ethan Caldwell, in front of investors at Nimbus Analytics. That Seattle conference room, with its sleek glass walls and views of Puget Sound's gray expanse, felt like a pressure cooker. As the lead data scientist, I'd spent 2 years building a cloud-based AI analytics platform, and now Ethan was pitching it to Cascade Ventures, as if it were his own flawless creation. His slides were full of impossible promises: 99.9% accuracy, 0 latency, and I'd already spoken up once to set the record straight. But the meeting was far from over, and every question from the investors pushed me closer to a line I wasn't sure I could cross without consequences. Dr. Elena Ruiz, Cascade's lead investor, sat across from us, her sharp eyes scanning Ethan's latest slide. She was 55, a former fintech founder who'd built and sold a company before most of us were out of college. Her presence commanded respect, and I could tell she wasn't buying Ethan's hype. Flanking her were Mark Patel, the finance guy with a calculator for a brain, and Sarah Nguyen, the operations expert who seemed to smell exaggeration from a mile away. They were here to decide if Nimbus's AI platform was worth a $10 million investment, and Ethan was determined to dazzle them with buzzwords. He clicked to a slide titled Unmatched Scalability, claiming our platform could handle infinite queries with no performance degradation. My stomach twisted. I'd spent months stress testing the system, documenting its limits, 10,000 queries per second, before latency spiked to 5 milliseconds. Ethan's claim wasn't just optimistic. It was a lie that could crash our credibility when clients tried to scale. I glanced at my laptop, where my technical notes sat open, a lifeline of truth in a sea of hype. Ethan gestured grandly, saying, "Our platform redefines e-commerce analytics, delivering real-time insights with zero compromises." Dr. Ruiz raised a hand, her voice calm but cutting. "Ethan, zero compromises is a bold claim. Can you quantify the system's scalability limits?" Ethan's smile didn't waver, but I saw his fingers tighten around the clicker. "It's virtually unlimited," he said. "We've optimized it for any workload." My heart pounded. I knew the real numbers, and I knew Dr. Ruiz's technical background meant she'd see through this. Her gaze shifted to me. "Maya, you mentioned earlier that latency increases under load. Can you provide specifics?" Ethan jumped in before I could speak. "I'll take this one, Elena. Maya's here for support, but the big picture is my domain." His tone was smooth, but his eyes flicked to me with a warning. I felt the room shrink. My colleagues, Lisa Tran from operations and Raj Patel from marketing, watching silently from the sidelines. Ethan rambled about cloud-native architecture and seamless performance. But his words were vague, a patchwork of jargon he'd picked up from my reports. Dr. Ruiz's expression didn't change, but Mark Patel's pen paused, and Sarah Nguyen's brow furrowed. "Maya," Dr. Ruiz said, her voice firm, "I'd like to hear from you. What are the actual scalability constraints?" Ethan's smile tightened, but he nodded as if granting me permission. I took a deep breath, my hands steadying on the table. "The platform is designed for high efficiency," I said. "On standard cloud servers, it handles up to 10,000 queries per second with 3-millisecond latency. Beyond that, latency climbs to about 5 milliseconds unless you add server capacity, which increases costs by roughly $2,000 per additional 5,000 OS queries." Sarah scribbled furiously, and Mark nodded, his calculator brain clearly crunching the numbers. Ethan's face was a mask of control, but I could see the muscles in his neck tense. "Maya's being conservative," he said, forcing a laugh. "Our clients won't hit those limits in real-world use." But Dr. Ruiz wasn't letting it go. "Conservative is good," she said. "Our technical team will need precise data for due diligence." "Maya, what about memory usage under these conditions?" Ethan tried to interject again, but Dr. Ruiz raised a hand, silencing him. I felt a surge of adrenaline. This was my moment to set the record straight, even if it meant defying Ethan. "Memory usage is about 1.5 GB per 1,000 data points," I explained. "That's optimized for cloud deployment, but complex data sets, like those with unstructured text, can push it to 2 GB. We've built in caching to keep costs down, but there's a trade-off with processing speed." Dr. Ruiz nodded, her eyes bright with interest. "That's exactly the kind of detail we need." "Thank you, Maya." Mark leaned forward. "And accuracy? Your earlier correction mentioned 97%. What factors affect that?" Ethan's chair creaked as he shifted, but I kept my focus on the investors. "Accuracy ranges from 95% to 97%, I said. "It's highest with clean, structured data but drops slightly with noisy inputs, like incomplete customer records. We've implemented adaptive algorithms to mitigate that, but it's not 100%. Sarah looked impressed, jotting down notes. "That's realistic," she said. "We've seen other platforms overpromise and crash on noisy data." Ethan's smile was now a thin line, his control slipping with every question directed at me. The meeting stretched on, and Ethan's attempts to steer the conversation back to his buzzwords fell flat. Dr. Ruiz asked about integration with existing e-commerce platforms, and I detailed our API's compatibility with Shopify and Magento, including a 200 ms handshake delay we were working to reduce. Mark wanted cost projections, so I outlined our cloud expense model, estimating $50,000 annually for mid-sized clients. Each answer I gave was grounded in the data I'd spent years collecting, and each one chipped away at Ethan's narrative of a perfect system. By the time we hit the Q&A, the investors were addressing me directly, barely glancing at Ethan. "Maya, your clarity is refreshing," Dr. Ruiz said as the meeting wrapped. "We'll need a full technical report to verify these specs." Ethan nodded, his voice tight. "Of course, we'll get that to you." But his eyes were on me, and I knew he wasn't happy. As we shook hands with the investors, Dr. Ruiz held mine a moment longer, her expression warm but calculating. "You've built something impressive," she said. Mark and Sarah echoed her thanks, and I felt a flicker of pride mixed with dread. I'd given them the truth, but at what cost? Back at my desk, the Seattle rain drumming outside, I replayed the meeting in my mind. I'd joined Nimbus 5 years ago, a 33-year-old eager to leave finance behind. I'd risen fast, earning the trust of clients like local retailer Rainier Goods and national brands like Coastal Trends. My platform was the culmination of everything I'd learned: machine learning, cloud architecture, and a relentless focus on practical solutions. Ethan had once been my ally, praising my work in front of the board, but his recent pivot to self-promotion had left me sidelined. Today, I'd taken a stand, not just for my platform, but for the truth. I knew Ethan wouldn't let this slide. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Lily, a UW sophomore I was supporting through college. "Big meeting today, right? You got this, Maya." Her words were a reminder of what was at stake. Not just my career, but her future. I'd spent years building a reputation in Seattle's tight-knit tech community, where trust was currency. If Ethan's hype led to unmet expectations, it wouldn't just hurt Nimbus. It would tarnish my name. As I stared at my laptop, my technical documentation open, I felt the weight of my decision. I'd spoken up to protect my work, but I'd also painted a target on my back. The investors' respect was a lifeline, but Ethan's silence as we'd left the conference room told me a storm was coming. I'm Maya Chen, and the morning after I corrected my CEO, Ethan Caldwell, in front of investors at Nimbus Analytics, my world turned upside down. The Seattle rain was relentless, pounding the windows of my office as I sat with my coffee, trying to process what had just happened. I'd spent 2 years building a cloud-based AI analytics platform, a system that was my pride and joy, and in one meeting, I'd risked it all by telling the truth. Ethan's flashy presentation to Cascade Ventures had been full of lies: 99.9% accuracy, 0 latency, and I'd called him out, giving the investors the real numbers. Now I was about to pay the price, but a single phone call would soon change everything. The day started gray, typical for Seattle in November, with mist curling off Puget Sound and the city's skyline shrouded in clouds. My office at Nimbus Analytics, a cozy space I'd made my own with code printouts and a photo of my sister Lily, felt like a sanctuary. I'd joined Nimbus 5 years ago, a 33-year-old fresh from a master's in data science at the University of Washington, looking for a fresh start after a soul-crushing stint in finance. Nimbus was a small startup then, just a handful of us in a Belltown loft, building analytics tools for local e-commerce brands. I'd risen fast, from junior data scientist to lead, earning the trust of clients like Rainier Goods and Coastal Trends by streamlining their data systems. My AI platform, the one Ethan pitched yesterday, was my vision. A scalable, efficient tool that delivered 97% accuracy with 3-millisecond latency on standard cloud servers. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, built from scratch through countless late nights and endless debugging sessions. Ethan had been different when I started. He was collaborative, eager for my input, quick to praise my algorithms in board meetings. He'd called me the future of Nimbus when I proposed the AI platform 2 years ago, promising it would put us on the map. But as Nimbus grew, so did his ego. Over the past year, he'd started taking credit for my work, calling it his strategic vision, while sidelining my role in presentations. I'd let it slide, focusing on the code rather than the spotlight. But yesterday's investor meeting changed everything. Ethan's slides had inflated our platform's capabilities to impossible levels, and when Dr. Elena Ruiz, Cascade's lead investor, asked for specifics, I gave her the truth. 1.5 GB memory per 1,000 data points, 10,000 queries per second, before latency spiked. My honesty had earned nods from Dr. Ruiz, Mark Patel, and Sarah Nguyen, but Ethan's icy silence as we left the room told me I'd crossed a line. At 9 a.m., Ethan summoned me to his office. The space was designed to intimidate. Polished wood desk, awards lining the walls, floor-to-ceiling windows framing Seattle's Space Needle through the fog. He sat back in his leather chair, his face a mask of calm, but his voice carried a cold edge. "Maya, we need to talk about yesterday," he said. "Your performance in the investor meeting was a problem." My heart quickened, but I kept my expression neutral. "I thought it went well," I said. "The investors got the technical details they needed." Ethan leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "You contradicted my slides, Maya. You made it sound like I don't understand our own technology. That's not how we secure a $10 million deal." I took a deep breath, my hand steady on my lap. Dr. Ruiz asked for specifics, Ethan. I gave her accurate data to protect our credibility. If we promise impossible metrics, clients will find out when the system fails. His jaw tightened, a flicker of anger breaking through his composure. "That's not your call to make," he snapped. "I decide what investors hear. Your job is technical support, not undermining me in front of Cascade Ventures." He slid a document across the desk. "Effective immediately, you're reassigned to junior developer. Your salary's cut by $15,000. You'll report to Lisa Tran in operations." The words hit like a physical blow. Junior developer. After 5 years of building Nimbus's reputation, after 2 years of crafting a platform that had Cascade ready to invest $10 million, I was being demoted for telling the truth. The document listed my new title, my reduced salary, my diminished authority. I stared at it, my mind racing. "This is because I corrected your projections," I said quietly, struggling to keep my voice steady. Ethan's smile was cold. "This is about knowing your place, Maya. You're a talented coder, but you don't get the bigger picture. This will help you focus on what you do best." I nodded, forcing myself to stay calm. "I understand," I said, my voice low, almost deferential. Ethan relaxed slightly, mistaking my composure for submission. "Good," he said. "Let's move forward." I left his office, the demotion papers trembling in my hands, and returned to my desk. My office, once a haven, now felt temporary, like it was slipping away. My monitors displayed the platform's code, thousands of lines I'd written, algorithms I'd perfected. Ethan wanted me to know my place, but he'd underestimated how well I knew it. I spent the morning backing up my files, every email, every code commit, every design doc that proved I'd built the platform. If Ethan thought I'd fade into the background, he was wrong. I had more than my career at stake. My sister Lily was a sophomore at UW studying biology, and I paid her tuition. Our parents, retired in Tacoma, relied on me for occasional support. This demotion wasn't just a professional hit, it was a threat to my family's stability. My colleagues noticed the shift. Raj Patel from marketing stopped by, his face grim. "Maya, I heard about the reassignment. It's bullshit. Everyone knows the platform's yours." I smiled tightly. "Just focusing on coding now, Raj." But his support fueled my resolve. Seattle's tech community is tight-knit, and word travels fast. I'd built relationships with clients, mentored junior developers, and earned a reputation for precision. Ethan's move wasn't just personal, it was a public humiliation. Lisa Tran, my new boss, sent a cautious email. "Looking forward to having you on the team, Maya." I could tell she was uncomfortable with the situation. By noon, I was still organizing my files when my phone buzzed with an unknown Seattle number. I almost ignored it, thinking it was a spam call. But something made me answer. "Hello? Is this Maya Chen?" The voice was crisp, professional, with a faint accent I couldn't place. "Yes, this is Maya," I said, my pulse quickening. "This is Dr. Elena Ruiz from Cascade Ventures. We met yesterday. I got your number from Nimbus's directory. Can we talk confidentially?" My heart skipped. Dr. Ruiz, the investor who'd grilled Ethan, was reaching out directly. "I have time," I said, trying to sound calm. "Good," she replied. "Your answers yesterday were critical, and I have questions about the platform. I also want to discuss something else, something that could change things for you." The word confidential sent a thrill through me. Dr. Ruiz had seen through Ethan's hype, and her call was a lifeline. I'd spent years building this platform, earning respect, only to have Ethan try to erase me. Now, the investors who held Nimbus's future in their hands were turning to me. As I sat in my office, the rain still falling outside, I felt a spark of determination. Ethan had tried to bury me, but Dr. Ruiz's call told me this wasn't over. I'd told the truth to protect my work, and now that truth might just save me. The rain was a steady drizzle as I walked into a small cafe in Seattle's Capitol Hill, far from Nimbus Analytics' downtown office. The call from Dr. Elena Ruiz, Cascade Ventures' lead investor, had left me reeling, her promise of a confidential conversation echoing in my mind. Just hours earlier, Ethan Caldwell, my CEO, had demoted me to junior developer for telling the truth about our AI analytics platform during an investor meeting. I'd built that platform over 2 years, pouring my expertise into every algorithm, only to watch Ethan claim it as his own vision. Now, sitting across from Dr. Ruiz in a cozy corner booth, I was about to discover a path to reclaim my work, and maybe my future. The cafe smelled of fresh coffee and warm pastries, its windows fogged from the November chill. Dr. Ruiz, 55, exuded quiet authority, her silver-streaked hair pulled back, her eyes sharp behind sleek glasses. She'd built and sold a fintech startup before becoming an investor, and her reputation in Seattle's tech scene was formidable. "Thank you for meeting me on short notice," she said, stirring her espresso. "Yesterday's presentation raised serious concerns, and I wanted to discuss them away from Nimbus." I sipped my latte, my hands steady despite the storm in my chest. "I appreciate you reaching out," I said. "Though I should mention Ethan reassigned me this morning. Apparently, I overstepped by correcting his slides." Dr. Ruiz's eyebrows rose, a flicker of indignation crossing her face. "He demoted you for providing accurate technical data?" I nodded, keeping my voice even. "The official reason was undermining management. My salary is down $15,000 and I report to operations now." She leaned back, her expression hardening. "That's not just poor leadership. It's a red flag for investors. Let me be direct, Maya. Your answers yesterday were the only credible part of that pitch. Ethan's claims didn't hold up." She pulled out a tablet and swiped to a report. "Our team analyzed your platform's specs. 1.5 GB memory per 1,000 data points, 3 millisecond latency, 97% accuracy. Everything you said checks out. Ethan's slides, on the other hand, 99.9% accuracy, 0 latency, are technically impossible." My heart raced. I'd spent months documenting those specs, ensuring our platform could deliver for clients like Rainier Goods and Coastal Trends. Ethan's hype had nearly derailed that credibility. "We've also reviewed patent filings and papers," Dr. Ruiz continued. "Your name is on 3 patents related to this platform's algorithms, published 2 years ago at a UW conference. Ethan's name appears nowhere." The validation hit me like a wave. For a year, I'd watched Ethan take credit for my work, calling it his strategic vision, while I coded late into the night. Hearing Dr. Ruiz, a tech legend, acknowledged my authorship felt like a lifeline. "We're considering a $10 million investment," she said, "but only with the right technical leadership." Ethan's presentation showed he doesn't understand the platform. "You do." I leaned forward, my voice cautious. "What are you proposing?" Her eyes met mine, steady and resolute. "Cascade will invest, but only if you're named Chief Technology Officer, reporting to the board, not Ethan. The role would include equity, a salary increase, and protections against retaliation." My breath caught. CTO. It was more than a promotion. It was a chance to control the platform I'd built, to ensure it grew on my terms. But the risks were massive. Ethan had already demoted me for speaking up. Challenging him further could end my career at Nimbus if the deal fell apart. My sister Lily depended on my income for her UW tuition. My parents, retired in Tacoma, counted on my stability. Yet Dr. Ruiz's confidence in my work was unshakable. "Why me?" I asked. "You could push for an external hire." She smiled faintly. "We invest in innovators, Maya. You're not just the developer, you're the inventor. This platform is your intellectual property, and Ethan's trying to sell it as his own." She swiped to another document, a patent filing with my name as lead inventor. "Our due diligence team cross-referenced your algorithms with the specs you gave yesterday. It's a perfect match." Ethan's responses, meanwhile, were vague, inconsistent. He didn't even know the memory overhead. I felt a mix of pride and anger. I'd spent 2 years refining those algorithms, optimizing for cloud deployment, balancing speed and accuracy. Ethan had skimmed my reports, cherry-picking buzzwords without grasping the trade-offs. "What do you need from me?" I asked, my voice steady despite the stakes. "We need comprehensive documentation," Dr. Ruiz said. "Every email, code commit, design doc that proves you built this platform. We also need realistic timelines and projections, none of Ethan's hyperbole. And we need to know if you're willing to lead. Cascade invests in technology, not marketing. We won't fund a company where the innovator is sidelined." I nodded, my mind racing. "I can provide the documentation. I've got years of records." Her smile widened. "Good. Send them through a personal email, not Nimbus channels. We'll handle the rest." We spent the next hour sketching a plan. Cascade would propose the $10 million investment with conditions: a CTO role for me, reporting directly to the board, with a $30,000 salary increase, 2% equity, and contractual protections against arbitrary dismissal. "This is standard for our tech investments," Dr. Ruiz said. "Most of our portfolio companies have protected technical leadership. Ethan won't be able to argue without exposing his weaknesses." I hesitated. "He'll know this came from me." She shook her head. "He'll suspect, but he can't prove it. We'll present it as a non-negotiable investor requirement. You focus on the documentation." The risks loomed large. Ethan's ego was fragile, and he'd already punished me for less. If Cascade's deal fell through, I could be out of a job in Seattle's competitive tech scene, where reputations are hard-won and easily lost. But I thought of my platform, my algorithms, my optimizations, my vision. I'd built it for clients who trusted me, for colleagues who respected my expertise, for Lily, who saw me as her role model. Letting Ethan steal it wasn't an option. "I'm in," I said, my voice firm. "I'll get you the documentation by tomorrow." Dr. Ruiz nodded, her expression warm but resolute. "You're doing the right thing, Maya. Protect your innovation, and we'll protect you." As I left the cafe, the Seattle drizzle felt less oppressive, like it was washing away my doubts. I walked past hipster bars and neon signs, my mind buzzing with possibility. I'd joined Nimbus 5 years ago, a 33-year-old eager to prove myself after leaving finance. I'd earned promotions by solving real problems, streamlining data pipelines, boosting client retention. My platform was the culmination of that work, a system that could transform e-commerce analytics. Ethan's demotion had been a slap in the face, but Dr. Ruiz's offer was a chance to take back what was mine. Back at my apartment, I opened my laptop and started compiling evidence. Every email where I'd outlined the platform's specs, every GitHub commit with my name, every design doc I'd written at 2 a.m. It was a digital trail of my innovation, undeniable and meticulous. I thought of my colleagues, Raj Patel, who'd called Ethan's move unfair, Lisa Tran, who'd emailed me with reluctant support. They knew the platform was mine, but Ethan's power play had tried to erase that. Dr. Ruiz's call had shifted the game. As I zipped up my files, ready to send through my personal email, I felt a fire I hadn't felt in months. Ethan had tried to bury me, but this alliance with Cascade could lift me higher than ever. The fight for my platform, and my place, was just beginning. The Seattle rain had softened to a mist by Wednesday morning, but the storm inside me was just beginning. After my meeting with Dr. Elena Ruiz from Cascade Ventures, I was fueled by a mix of determination and nerves. She'd offered me a chance to reclaim my AI analytics platform by becoming Nimbus Analytics Chief Technology Officer, a role that would secure my work and sideline my CEO, Ethan Caldwell, who'd demoted me for telling the truth. I'd spent 2 years building that platform, and now, armed with Dr. Ruiz's backing, I was compiling the evidence to prove it was mine. But Ethan wasn't clueless. He was getting suspicious, and the next few days would test whether I could outmaneuver him in Seattle's cutthroat tech scene. Back in my cramped new office, a far cry from the cozy space I'd lost after my demotion to junior developer, I worked methodically. My monitors glowed with folders of emails, GitHub commits, and design documents. 2 years of proof that I'd created the cloud-based AI platform Ethan claimed as his strategic vision. Every file was a piece of my story. Late-night emails to engineers outlining memory optimizations, commits time-stamped at 3 a.m. with my name, and design docs detailing the platform's 97% accuracy and 3-millisecond latency. I zipped them into a secure archive, sending it to Dr. Ruiz through my personal email, as she'd instructed. Nimbus's servers were Ethan's domain, and I wasn't taking chances. Ethan's paranoia was palpable. He stopped by my office twice that day, his usual polish replaced by a strained smile. "Maya, any word from Cascade?" he asked, leaning casually against the doorframe. "They've been asking for technical docs." I kept my tone neutral, my eyes on my screen. "Haven't heard anything directly," I said, which was technically true. Our communication was off company channels. "I'm sure they'll reach out if they need more." He nodded, but his eyes lingered, searching for cracks in my composure. I gave him nothing, my fingers steady on the keyboard. Inside, my heart raced. Ethan had demoted me for correcting his inflated claims, 99.9% accuracy, 0 latency, in front of investors. If he suspected I was working with Dr. Ruiz, he'd double down. By Thursday, I'd sent Dr. Ruiz a comprehensive package. 200 emails, 1,500 commits, 3 patent filings with my name as lead inventor, and a 50-page technical report outlining the platform's specs. 1.5 GB memory per 1,000 data points, 10,000 queries per second before latency spikes. I included realistic timelines, 6 months to integrate with Shopify's latest API, a year to scale for enterprise clients like Coastal Trends. No buzzwords, just facts. Dr. Ruiz replied within hours. "This is airtight. We're presenting terms tomorrow. Stay ready." Her words were a spark, but the risks loomed. If Cascade's deal fell through, Ethan could fire me outright, leaving me jobless in a city where tech reputations are fragile. My colleagues sensed the tension. Raj Patel from marketing dropped by, his voice low. "Maya, everyone's talking about your demotion. It's not right. The platform's yours. Ethan's just riding your coattails. I smiled tightly. Just doing my job, Raj. But his support and quiet nods from others like Lisa Tran in operations reminded me I wasn't alone. I'd mentored junior developers, built trust with clients like Rainier Goods, and earned respect in Nimbus's small but tight-knit team. Ethan's move to sideline me had backfired, stirring whispers in the office. Still, I kept my focus, my files backed up on an external drive, my personal email open for Dr. Ruiz's updates. Friday morning brought the reckoning. Ethan called an emergency staff meeting at 2 p.m. His email curt, Cascade Ventures final terms. The conference room, with its glass walls and views of Seattle's foggy skyline, felt charged as I took my seat. Lisa Tran, Raj Patel, and 3 other department heads, Claire Wong from Finance, Sam Kim from Engineering, and Tara Evans from HR, sat around the table, their faces a mix of curiosity and unease. Ethan stood at the front, his suit crisp but his posture tense, like a man bracing for impact. Cascade has sent their investment proposal, he said, his voice tight. They're offering $10 million for a 25% stake, but there are conditions. He clicked to a slide titled Organizational Changes, and my pulse quickened. They're requiring a new Chief Technology Officer role, he said, reporting directly to the board with authority over technical strategy. Lisa frowned, her operations mind catching the shift. Ethan, you oversee tech strategy. Why split it? He cleared his throat, his smile forced. They want someone with proven AI expertise, citing industry standards for tech investments. The room went quiet. Claire glanced at me, her eyes narrowing. Sam, who debugged code with me at midnight, gave a small nod. They knew who Cascade meant. Ethan's gaze landed on me, and I saw the moment he realized his miscalculation. Maya, he said slowly, I believe they're expecting you to fill this role. His voice was calm, but his jaw was tight, his control fraying. I kept my expression neutral, my hands folded. I haven't heard anything official, I said, my tone measured, but I'd be open to contributing at that level. Raj hid a smirk, and Tara's eyebrows rose. Ethan's eyes darted around the room, searching for an out, but Cascade's terms had cornered him. 3 days ago, he'd demoted me to junior developer, cut my salary by $15,000, and told me to know my place. Now, my expertise was the key to the $10 million he desperately needed. He clicked to the next slide, outlining the CTO role, $30,000 salary increase from my original pay, 2% equity, and protections against arbitrary dismissal. Dr. Ruiz had been thorough. Every term she'd promised was there, framed as a standard investor requirement. We'll need to discuss this privately, Maya, Ethan said, his voice strained. Of course, I replied, my calm exterior hiding the triumph bubbling inside. I'm available whenever you're ready. The meeting adjourned, but the air crackled with unspoken tension. As we left, Raj caught my eye, giving a subtle thumbs up. Lisa whispered, You've got this. Even Claire, usually reserved, nodded in approval. Ethan's attempt to bury me had backfired spectacularly. Back at my desk, I replayed the moment. I'd joined Nimbus 5 years ago, a 33-year-old eager to leave finance behind. I'd built my reputation by solving problems, streamlining data pipelines, boosting client retention, mentoring engineers like Sam. My platform, with its 97% accuracy and cloud efficiency, was the culmination of that work. Ethan had tried to claim it, but Cascade's due diligence, fueled by my documentation, had exposed his limits. Dr. Ruiz's plan was elegant. By tying the investment to my leadership, she'd forced Ethan to elevate me or lose the deal. I thought of my sister, Lily, at UW, her tuition secure if this worked. My parents in Tacoma, proud but worried, would see me rise above Ethan's pettiness. Ethan's office visit later that day was a study in restraint. Maya, let's talk about the CTO role, he said, his smile thin. It's a big opportunity. I nodded, letting him squirm. He knew I held the cards, my patents, my specs, my truth. The platform was mine, and Cascade knew it. As I left his office, the Seattle skyline glowed through the mist, a reminder of the city's relentless drive. I'd spent 2 years building something extraordinary, and Ethan's ego had nearly cost me everything. But now, with Dr. Ruiz's backing and my colleagues' support, the power was shifting. I wasn't just a developer anymore. I was the key to Nimbus's future, and Ethan was about to learn what that meant. Monday morning dawned crisp in Seattle. The kind of day where the sun breaks through the clouds, casting a golden glow over Puget Sound. I walked into Nimbus Analytics not as a demoted junior developer, but as the soon-to-be Chief Technology Officer, a role I'd earned through 2 years of building a cloud-based AI analytics platform and a week of outmaneuvering my CEO, Ethan Caldwell. His attempt to claim my work and sideline me had backfired, thanks to Cascade Ventures' lead investor, Dr. Elena Ruiz, who'd tied their $10 million investment to my leadership. As I sat across from Ethan's polished desk, signing a contract that made me his equal, I felt the sweet satisfaction of a plan executed flawlessly. This is the story of how I went from demotion to triumph, and how truth won in the end. Ethan's office, with its Space Needle view and walls lined with awards he barely earned, felt different that morning. His suit was pristine, but dark circles under his eyes betrayed a weekend of worry. Maya, I've reconsidered our structure in light of Cascade's terms, he said, his voice carefully neutral, like he was reading a script. The board has approved a CTO position, and I'd like to offer it to you. He slid a contract across the desk, and I noted the terms. A $30,000 salary increase over my original pay, 2% equity, board oversight, and protections against arbitrary dismissal. It was everything Dr. Ruiz had promised, a fortress around my role that Ethan couldn't breach. This is generous, I said, my tone calm, scanning the contract's ironclad language. What changed your mind? Ethan's smile was strained, his eyes avoiding mine. I may have underestimated your contributions, he said, the words sticking in his throat. Cascade made it clear your expertise is critical to their confidence. I nodded, letting him squirm. 5 days ago, he'd demoted me to junior developer, cut my salary by $15,000, and told me to know my place for correcting his lies, 99.9% accuracy, 0 latency, in front of investors. Now, my platform's truth, backed by my patents and Dr. Ruiz's due diligence, had forced his hand. I'm glad we're aligned, I said, signing the contract with steady hands. Ethan's handshake was limp, his defeat barely concealed. The announcement came that afternoon in Nimbus's main conference room, the same glass-walled space where I'd clashed with Ethan during the investor pitch. Raj Patel from marketing, Lisa Tran from operations, Claire Wong from finance, Sam Kim from engineering, and Tara Evans from HR filled the seats, their faces a mix of relief and excitement. Ethan stood at the front, his voice tight. I'm pleased to announce Maya Chen as our new Chief Technology Officer, he said. Her leadership will drive our technical strategy forward. The room erupted in applause, genuine, warm, the kind that comes from colleagues who'd seen me wronged. Raj beamed, Lisa nodded approvingly, and Sam, who'd coded with me through countless bugs, gave a quiet fist pump. Dr. Ruiz joined via video, her voice steady. Cascade is confident in Maya's ability to position Nimbus for growth, she said, a hint of a smile in her eyes. I caught Ethan's jaw tighten, but he clapped along, his facade crumbling. My new office, larger than Ethan's, overlooked Elliott Bay, the water shimmering under rare November sun. I settled in, my monitors displaying the platform's code, my code, with its 97% accuracy, 3 millisecond latency, and 1.5 GB memory efficiency. This was my domain now, protected by board oversight and investor backing. Ethan's credibility, meanwhile, began to erode. His hype-heavy pitch had exposed his technical ignorance, and board members whispered about his strategic missteps. Within 3 months, he was quietly asked to step down as CEO, replaced by a seasoned tech executive, Priya Sharma, who valued collaboration over ego. Ethan's severance was modest, his reputation in Seattle's tight-knit tech community tarnished by his attempt to steal my work. Under my leadership, Nimbus thrived. Cascade's $10 million fueled a hiring spree, bringing in top engineers to scale the platform. We secured contracts with 3 major clients, 2 national e-commerce brands and a Seattle-based logistics firm, adding $5 million in annual revenue. I pushed for new applications, like predictive analytics for supply chains, positioning Nimbus as a player beyond e-commerce. 6 months later, Cascade increased their investment to $15 million, citing my proven innovation. My team grew to 20, and I mentored young data scientists, sharing the lessons I'd learned. Precision matters, but so does standing up for your work. My personal life stabilized, too. My sister Lily texted from UW, "Proud of you, Maya. CTO sounds badass." Her tuition was secure, and I sent my parents in Tacoma a photo of my new office, their pride evident in their reply. My colleagues' respect, once shaken by Ethan's demotion, was restored. Raj sought my input on client pitches. Lisa consulted me on scaling timelines, and Sam called me the platform's soul. Seattle's tech scene buzzed with my story, a data scientist who'd turned the tables on a manipulative CEO. At a local tech meetup, a young engineer asked how I'd done it. "Truth," I said, "and a little help from people who see it." Reflecting on that week, I realized my victory wasn't about revenge. I didn't plot Ethan's downfall. I let his flaws expose themselves. My documentation, emails, commits, patents, spoke louder than his buzzwords. Dr. Ruiz's alliance gave me the leverage, but my platform's strength, built on years of rigorous work, was the foundation. I joined Nimbus at 33, fresh from a finance career I hated, determined to build something real. 5 years later, at 38, I'd not only built it but protected it. My platform, with its 97% accuracy and cloud efficiency, was transforming businesses, and I was steering its future. Sitting in my office, the Seattle skyline glowing at dusk, I thought about Ethan's lesson. Know your place. He'd meant it as a reprimand, but I'd turned it into a mantra. My place was at the top, leading technical innovation, not following orders from someone who didn't understand the code. Ethan's exit was his own doing. His ego couldn't outrun the truth. As I reviewed a new algorithm, my team buzzing outside, I felt a quiet triumph. I wasn't just a developer anymore. I was the architect of Nimbus's future, recognized and unstoppable.